Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I've got a pretty ropey rack, unbalanced, only one vowel, but probably too good to change. If opponent changes, I could play Nearly, which would certainly be better than changing. Could there be a bingo with the right floater? Well, any such floater would be a vowel. Not seeing anything with an A, E, I, O, or U, so I'm not bingoing with this rack. I can't see a way of playing the C and the Y in a 5-letter word to get something doubled. Well, I can see straight away I have curry in column 5. Is that best? It's taking out a double-double lane, sorting the rack out. Curly would be better. Better rack leave and doesn't have the front hook that curry had. 20 points, not great. But I don't think I can do much better than this. Well, I was going to say pretty good. Certainly all bingo-y tiles, which caught my attention. But there are duplicates, and it's vowel heavy, so there may not be a bingo here. And if there isn't, I'm going to struggle to score with all 1-point tiles. So I'm not seeing a 7. What about the D? Very high probability if there is one here. Not seeing anything. How about the L? And there are 2 L's to consider. No, again, nothing coming to mind. I think it's duplicate N, which is troublesome. And the C and Y, I'm not seeing anything. So, how to sort this rack out? Opponents opened access to this triple word square. And I don't mind trashing this rack. I don't have an S or a blank. And even if I kept the best possible rack leave, it wouldn't be hugely valuable. I think it would be outcompensated for by score if, for example, I had a 6-letter play. But do I? It would need to start with an E. No, not seeing one. So, having thought about trashing the rack, that was only with a view to reaching this triple word square. What about just playing yen? 17 points, not bad. Pretty good rack leave. Certainly goes well with the D. And it stops opponent from reaching this triple word square without burning an S. So it's keeping the board tight. I am going with this. Well, again, slightly vowel heavy. I have murinid onto the D, should that remain available. A slim hope, given how tight the board is. Yen does take a number of front hooks, H and S. But that's not terribly many. Flown takes nothing. C is a pretty awkward tile to play around, so I think the action is going to focus on the D. I'm not seeing a 7 with this rack. Are there any other floaters to consider? Calf is good, so I could have a play ending AT. Yeah, and that might be worth considering, even if I don't have a bingo, as a way of scoring. What about a play beginning with the F? Not seeing anything. And likewise with the W. So apart from the bingo, I'm really not seeing anything at all. And should the bingo play, it's going to open the board wide open because it's going to stick an M in the middle of row A. So what will I do if opponent blocks? The trouble with playing mat is that it retains the U, and given how bingo-y the rest of the rack is, I'd like to jettison the U if I can. Okay, well, opponent does not bingo, but he does take my spot. Has he provided any floaters which provide another bingo for me? The P does look useful, close to perineum, but that doesn't work with an A. This rack plus a P. No, not seeing anything. How about the I? Urinemia, yes. Wow, I have a bingo through the I. A 5 vowel 8. There seem to have been quite a few of those recently. What about the V? No. And how about the O? That could be a double-double. Again, it would be a 5 vowel 8. And they are tricky to see. I'm close to imino-urea, but that is a 9-letter play. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything better than urinemia. 2 spots for it. This is the better one, because if I played it to the right, then an S could go on the end in column 15. Not bad. It's generally nice to see the Z and the X, and those tiles are not crushing an otherwise bingo-y rack. So it's always nice to work your way through non-bingo-y racks with decent scoring tiles like the Z and the X. Board still fairly limited in terms of opportunities for high-scoring tiles, and indeed bingo lanes. There's the S hook for urinemia, there's the floating O, and that's about it. Now, I can get rid of Z and X with Zex, which does play in row B. But a Z in column 1 is a volatile play, but it's one I may choose to do. I don't need to play off both of my scoring tiles, and certainly Zex would leave a pretty horrible rack leave. But it all comes down to score and rack leave. I have Grizz in column 4, which takes an E, puts a Z next to a double word square. So that's not great. I don't think Outled takes anything in front. Could be wrong. Wow, opponent burns an S, scores 37 points, which is enough points that one cannot infer that he's got a second S, but with 3 unplayed, he may do. So my lead, fairly slender, and my rack, very non-bingo-y. Just looking for any Z or X plays. Well, I am mindful of the rubbishness of the rack leave. Should I have played Zax? Is this rack leave so much better? Given that opponents, well, he's played off 5 tiles, so I can't infer that he has got a bingo-y rack leave, but he may do. I could play Oxidize. And that's a decent score, 48 points, and the rack leave is better than anything else I've considered. And it complements opponent's play of Splat. Opponent has opened the board wide open, and I am making it even wider open, which means that there will be plenty of opportunities for me to have first shot at. And the score, 48 points, pretty good. I am going with this. Pretty hopeless, but that's the risk you take when you draw a lot of random tiles. However, there are some scoring tiles amongst these. F and V go particularly badly together, as do V and W, so I'm really looking to play off at least 2 of F, V and W, and I'd be astonished if I could play off all 3. Wow, a shame about this F. Without that, I could be close to playing wing over or over wing, both of which are good, I think. Now I have throwing through this I. That's, how good is that? Well, that keeps V and W. not great. I have vowing, that's a little better, keeping F and R. I am encouraged by that. It does take an A in front, but maybe opponent will play in column 15 and reduce the damage that could cause. Oxidize has restricted the uranemia hook. I'm not really looking at column 15 because I'm expecting opponent to play there. And he has, and he's blocked the vowing spot, which is irksome. So, do I have anything in column 15 now that I know it's available? W can go either side of the E. Well, not seeing anything. G can go above, so I could play Genro, but that's keeping F, V, and W. A gaze only takes a D. Gosh. Vrow is good, but the E stops that being played. I have wrong on my rack. What a shame about throwing. That would certainly have, or vowing rather. Do I have anything similar in this spot? Well, no, I have nothing which goes in front of G. Do I have anything in column 15 of any shape or form starting at the top? So something RO. Wow, so close to grower. I could have a play which begins RE. No, not seeing anything. This play isn't particularly dangerous. It's just not providing anything for me. And this rack is too good to change, which is irksome. I can play Vrow in column 4, keeping 4 consonants. Surely there's something better than the options I've mentioned so far. 12 minutes on my clock, 43 tiles to come, and my lead only 40 points. My inclination is to keep the board open, because my rack is so non-bingo-y. I don't want opponent to bingo and then shut the board down. But what am I going to do? Help. So, well, I was thinking about wrong, but I don't want to play off. I do want to play off 2 out of F, V, and W. That's the sticking point. So the best I've seen is Vrow. I do not feel this is optimal at all. The score's pretty dismal. The rack cleave is only good if I draw a vowel. Fortunately, there's the A of splat, there's the I of oxidize, so even with a bad draw, I should have some hope. But only 20 points. There is surely something better than this, but I haven't seen it, and I've spent enough time looking. What about playing frown in this spot? Burning 1 more tile, so keeping 3 consonants rather than 4, and that does represent a big difference. I'm going with this. Well, I draw all consonants apart from the blank. So now And maybe I drew the blank because I played 4 tiles rather than 3. Positive thinking. I'm not bingoing with this rack. How can I sort it out? Great, opponent not zooming off. I can play Grav. A gaze does take a D. Now, what about using this E of Oxidize to stop opponent playing in that spot? Wow, this is pretty risky, but I can do this. Duh for 17. I don't want to do that. Doesn't score enough. I can play Grav. 8, purely to get rid of the junk from my rack. I could pluralize Derv, burning my blank, but I think it's more valuable on my rack to bingo next turn. This is a super hot spot though. So, what about playing Med for 19? Just to stop opponent scoring 50 or 60 points there. That is such a hot spot. Well, gem would be better. 17 points. I am minded to do this, and I could regret it. If opponent bingos through splat, very few bingo lanes on the board. No, I'm not doing that. If opponent does play in column 15, he will be creating a new bingo lane. I need to get to bingo land as soon as possible. So I need to sort this rack out. And I think Grav does that for only 8 points. So what do I have through the E and the E of Oxidize or the A of Splat? I'm not sure about Talcumed. That may be good. Now I have Mal Edict. So I do have a bingo which gets doubled. What about a play through this E? I have Mulcted as a 7. Should a 7 lane be created? So this rack plus an E doesn't look hugely promising. I do have plays beginning Med. And a play could begin with the E. What about the blank just as another vowel? So an A plus this E. Not seeing anything. What about a third E? No. How about an I? Well, that would be climated. Maybe Maledict isn't good. I think it is, though. But this rack plus an E, I'm not seeing anything. Oh, no, not seeing anything. No. Okay, so limited options. Do I have anything through the other floaters in Splat? I do have a half-decent play. If opponent blocks the floaters in Splat, I could play something like Medley. So I think this has worked out. This play of Grav has worked out okay. Wow, okay, so Maledict remains available. That doesn't look a decent score. Oh, because it was through this tile. Maledict for 78. Interesting. What is the best I can do down here? Retaining the blank. 43. interesting, and this is leaving several bingo lanes on the board. I am minded to do this because Maledict provides opportunities for plays in row O, for sticking an S on the end, for playing where I'm playing. Opponent could well have another S, which is another reason for not playing Maledict. Well, I can improve this slightly, I think, with Melted. 45 points. Let me go back and see what this was. 43 points. I think the T adds 2 points of value to this. There's only one to come. This helps Val constant balance. I am going with this. And look at the time. I'm down to 7 minutes and there are still 25 tiles to come. So I've been playing too slowly, I think. Now, I have Emic8 in column 14. Do I have a bingo beginning with the T? Well, not that I can see, but surely I do have a bingo, and given that I've run the time down, it would be a shame if I have to spend a lot of time looking for a bingo. It's a shame Flown doesn't take an S, otherwise I would have Speciate. 10 minutes on opponent's clock, so he's been using a fair bit of time. Now, surely there's something through the L. Gosh, well, it's not coming to mind. What about the A? Well, yes, I have Acer8. Okay, so I have a couple of bingos. They could both be blocked. Opponent has signalled he's got an S. He may bingo in column 14. In which case, I might be in difficulty. My lead is only 38 points. Let me consider this T while opponent is thinking about his turn. My rack plus a T. So Tenai aside through, well, that's a 9. This rack plus a T. Not seen anything so far. That's the telly prefix. That's Emic8 as a 7. What about the blank as an S? Looks promising, but I'm not seeing anything. Okay, opponent's played. Let me just finish this exercise. Possibly U tactic. 6 minutes on my clock. Okay, so opponent's played Adji. Joe takes nothing in front, so there is a new bingo lane, but it's face value. So do I have a play down here? A 7, which places the C in 3rd spot. I do have Emic8. I do have a bingo. What would that look like? I'm not going through the alphabet again. What about a play beginning with P? The trouble with Emic8 is that it does provide... it doesn't. I thought it went all the way to the bottom, and it doesn't. I am going with this. And I'm just short on time, but look at this. I draw the second blank. I hadn't even realised it was still out there. And now I have a 70-point lead. Emic8 takes a D and an S. 1D, 2 S's to come. Opponent's probably got an S, so he may be looking at a 40-point play, which would keep him within reach. Now, do I have a bingo? Column 2 is a really good bingo lane onto AT. And there could be one here. This looks fairly synergetic. And any other floaters to consider? Not really. It's really just that lane. So let me have a quick squiz, see if I can see anything. That will be body as a component part. Gosh, these all look, or some of these look fairly close, but nothing is coming to mind. But with the blank, well, so Bryozoan through a Z. Where's the Z? That's not within reach. And it must be through something else as well. Through an R. No, no R's. Okay. Well, I'm really eliminating the possibility of there being a bingo here rather than searching for one I'm expecting to find. I have Boney in, well, where opponents play, but that's no great surprise. I can play Bay in this spot. It's a shame to keep 2 O's, but the score's pretty good. Wow, 49 points for opponent. Maybe there would have been something better than Emic8. 11 tiles to come, and they're all pretty bingo-y. Now, 5 minutes on my clock. T is certainly a floater. So it's really tempting to try and sort this rack out. Which Bay certainly doesn't do. Bay is only 36 points. Tempting, it provides nothing. It forces opponent to bingo in column 2, which will create access to triple word squares. So despite the slenderness of my lead, I think powering on with the points might be the way to go, especially with limited time. I think Baby Moon is good. No B or M. Yeah, I'm running out of thinking time in this game. I'm going with Bay. I draw that final O, which is irksome. However, I do have the H, so if I played Who or Oo somewhere... Wow. Nice bingo for opponent. Look at that, 3 R's. That is sick. Absolutely sick. So he leads by only 12. Interesting. 1 tile in the bag. This is what I'm thinking of, playing Oo for 31. With 1 tile and the blank, I'm in a good position to go out. Hope is not extinguished. Is there anything better than Oo? 4 minutes on my clock. Do I have a bingo here? 3 R's and a U. That is sickening and sick. So, T still available. I don't think it's worth going through the alphabet. No, I'm going with Oo for 31. And I draw the U. But surely I have an out. I lead by 19. Does opponent have a bingo through the T? Well, I'm not going to concern myself with that. Do I have an out, and do I have 2 outs? So, well, I may not. That U was a bad pick for me. So I have out win in row O. Do I have something elsewhere? What about the I? GUID? Nope. Not seeing anything. Opponent blocks out win and scores 47 points. So well, I think this game is lost even if I go out. Wow, that's an amazing finish by opponent. So I'm going to get 4 on count back. 373. I need 24 to draw. Can I do that? Opponent is going out if I don't. Bar takes nothing in front. What about the L? Oil nut. Okay, so I do have an out. Do I have something better? And is there any hope of getting into the 20s with this rack? I don't think there is. What about a play beginning Joe? Nope, I'm going with oil nut for 7. And the final score, 380 for me, 397 for my opponent, a winning margin of 17 points, so well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. Well, both blanks, but it wasn't enough. Could I have done better? So, opponent to go fast, plays out lead. And I play curly, keeping INR. Could have played off a couple of those and got 4 more points, but very little between those plays. Opponent's rack plays flow. Phew, no missed bingo here. K7, flown, nareen, well that's rack wrecking. What do? I play yen for 17, yeah, which is rack preserving. So I only sacrificed 6 points, but that was worth it. Opponent plays pivoted. And I play Uranemia, B6. I could have played Ruminate. Interesting, I considered AT plays. I didn't consider ATE plays. But there were 3 more points on offer in that spot. So I have a lead, as I think I do throughout most of the game. And opponent played Splat, and now I have this rack and played Oxidize for 48. Opponent, struggling with vowels, plays a gaze, and this is my first really tricky rack. So D15, Re1. Look at this rack leave, horrendous. So I play frown for 22, keeping what? F-O-W, and keeping GRV, which does have a certain amount of synergy. So, yeah, I think that's okay. Just not a very nice rack to have to deal with. Opponent plays Chi, and now I have the blank. Grimed, A15. Wow, okay, what do? I play grab for 8. Okay, I think grimed has to be a better play, even though it's burning the blank. Opponent's rack, wow, misses pack tongs through this P of splat, very difficult to see. And opponent takes the lead, but not for long. Talcomed was good, N7. Interesting, because I play medley for 43 to keep the blank, but the blank isn't worth 43 points. But it is worth 25 to 30, and the CT help. So these moves aren't far apart, but I think Talcomed would have been a better play. Opponent's rack plays Agi. And now, wow, a ton of bingos. This is where I was mindful of the time and played Emicate for 72. H14, there was a play with the C in third place, Hecate. L8, Patience, beginning with the P, and Petetia. Yeah, I mean, all the scores are the same, but they have the moves vary in terms of what they offer opponent, and Emicate is pretty volatile with this A next to this double letter square and its hooks. So I don't think Emicate was optimal. Opponent plays Hend. But having said that, I do still lead by about 20 points, and I've got a good rack. No bingo here, and I play Bay. B1, Boif. Interesting, because that certainly leaves a better rack leave, and the B not massively useful in first place. But I play Bay for 36, thinking that I would have a good chance of outrunning opponent, but he's there with this rack, an absolutely superb spot of Gurrier. But look at this, re-oxidize. That's nice. Now, I hadn't given up hope at this point, but I hadn't spotted basket. What could I have done here? B6, oomph. Keeping INO, that would have scored 41 points. What do? I play OO for 31. Okay, I think I'm still too far behind. Opponent plays basket, and the score here, 47 points, is huge. I need a lot from this final rack, and it simply isn't there. I play oil nut for 7, oniums, I10, and medleys for 13 would have been slightly better. So, what a game. I had both blanks. I had the lead for most of the game. I was feeling in pretty good shape, and then right at the end, opponent comes up on the rails with a superb spot of Gurrier, and was able to follow that up with another great play of basket to take the win by a slim margin. So well done once again to my opponent. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.